What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Recently I've been having a lot of questions about how do you learn a different language, how do you study, how long does it take, what preparations do you have to go through in order to become fluent in another language. Well, luckily today I have a special guest, Teej, founder of Elementary Chinese, here to explain his process on learning Chinese, how long it took him, what preparations he took, and different methods on how to get to that level of fluency. Teej has been a great friend of mine for quite some time now. He has an awesome channel and tips on how to speak like a native Chinese. So without further ado, take it away, Teej.
All right, thank you, TJ. So guys, if you don't know me, my name is Teej. I'm creator at elementarychinese.com, where I teach expats, foreigners who live here in China, how to learn the everyday Chinese they need to communicate what they want. I don't focus on all the crazy grammar. I don't focus on this theoretical stuff that will get you an A in school. My mission is to make it easier for you to communicate. If you can communicate on the day-to-day basis, then you can thrive. And if you're thriving, you're more likely to keep learning Mandarin later on and stay in China longer. You're probably like, what have you been doing in China for 10 years? I was teaching at an international school up until a month ago when I quit the job, and now I'm using my savings and launching this business full-time. So I teach online and I teach on WeChat and I make videos for Instagram and for YouTube like the one you're watching. I happen to live in a small city called Tianjin, right next to Beijing, about 2-hour car ride southeast or half an hour fast train. So what got me interested in Chinese in the first place? When I worked back in Paris, I went on a date with a Chinese girl, but she kept talking about this African who worked with Doctors Without Borders, Médecins Sans Frontières, and he was cool, apparently, worth her time to talk about, because he had married a Chinese wife and he spoke Mandarin. And so, I never got a second date with the French girl, but I was smart and something stuck in my mind. Pretty French girls learn Chinese. So before I even left Paris, I bought a book, and on the job and off the job, I would read that Chinese book. I went back to college, enrolled in a Chinese class, and that led me to my first study abroad experience in Beijing, where I ended up studying Mandarin for like 2 years. In the morning, 8 to 11, reading, writing, listening, and comprehensive, all of them mixed together. So that's how I got started. I wish I could say it was something deeper than that, but it was a girl. But what continued me learning Chinese was how interesting it was. Something in here, in my heart, I just love to speak and communicate in foreign languages. And as I do more of that, I'm more fulfilled. So of course, once I started learning Chinese, I knew I had to go to China to learn just as well as I could speak French at the time. Immersion. And by the way, that's your goal too when you're learning a language. Even if you can't get overseas or south of the border, you definitely want to create a language environment that is as conducive as possible to you learning that language. So you're learning a language. Here's what I did in China to get fluent. Number one, I went to class. Don't skip class, but I will tell you, class for me was not that fun. Why would I sit in a class in the middle of China for 4 hours a day and only get to talk, because there are 15 students, once every 10 or so minutes, and then just do that homework? For me, it was boring. I did always do that. But as soon as I got out of class, I went downstairs and I found language exchange partners. It made sense to do half an hour of English and half an hour of Chinese. I taught them, they teach me. Later on, I went and I got a job, and then I just paid people to teach me, because if you're working, there's no reason you would exchange. Your time is valuable. Don't waste your time. Use your time efficiently, and that's what I did too. Number three was I just went outside and met regular old friends. My first friend was this guy named An Yang. He was Huizu. Hui is like the Muslim minority in China, and his parents had a restaurant over on the university campus that I studied at. So I would go over, hang out with him, and eat good food and talk Chinese. And he even played ping pong and got beat by 3 generations of Chinese people. It was horrible. He beat me, his parents beat me, and his grandma beat me. Chinese know how to play some ping pong. So if you combine those, you'll get good. Some other things I did is I bought the audio that went along with my textbooks, and I would read out loud along with the audio to work on my intonation, because Chinese has tones, and my pitch. And with the sentences, I used flashcards. Hopefully you have an app and you just work the characters. My best recommendation for you is find the characters online in the list of most common to least common and just memorize the first 300. That will give you such an understanding of Chinese. So that's what I did. So if you go to class, you do language exchange, find a tutor, you, according to whatever sport you like, find people that like to do that sport, short, you get audio, you read along with it. Now you can go on YouTube to great YouTube channels. I have one, but find one that has a lot more Mandarin language because I'm more tips, and just read along. That's how you're gonna get better in the least amount of time. Just expose yourself to language. If you overthink it, you're gonna waste time. And the last thing you want is 3 months from now, you're still like, what's the best way? What's the best book? No, just start. What kept me motivated? Well, Chinese was hard while I was learning it. Still is hard. And so I had to keep my motivation high. And you know what really helped me? Just speaking with people outside, like I already said. But guess what? There's a reason that right now I teach everyday Chinese. And I don't teach grammar, and I don't force you to learn characters. Because I scored some of the easy wins. I was able to go out and get the food I wanted. Everyday Chinese. I was able to have success taking the bus. Everyday Chinese. I could take taxis. Everyday Chinese. See, I learned the simple Chinese that got me what I needed first. That helped me stay motivated. And I like to make friends, so I made friends. That's my advice for you. If you have trouble with motivation, do what you like. Don't do what the teacher tells you to do. Go find the type of Chinese that you like. Maybe that's novels. Maybe that's watching YouTube channels. Maybe that's listening to a podcast. Maybe it's watching Chinese TV shows. Do what you like and intake the Mandarin in that way. That will keep your motivation high. And also, don't take on too much. If you can't read characters and it's overwhelming for you, forget the characters. Do that later. I want you to start now, do what you like, so that a year from now, you're still studying. What's the easiest and hardest part of my Chinese language journey? Well, the easiest part for me was speaking Mandarin. I'm good at it. I've always been good, and I enjoyed learning. That was the easiest for me. The hardest part was that Chinese culture is vastly, immensely, hugely different from American culture where I'm from. So the hardest part was integrating into Chinese society, and honestly, I haven't figured that part out yet. After 10 years, I know, right? That's okay though, I'm a language guy, I'm not a culture guy. When you come to China, just make sure to go with an open mind and experience China, and try your best to understand the reasons why Chinese behave like they do. Don't waste your time being negative, just go and embrace it. That was the hardest part for me then, but looking back, honestly, that's what I would change. But of course, you want to know about language. Characters are the hardest part. There's no way to understand how to say a character, so you see it on a sign and you don't know what that character says, you just have to memorize it. That's why I told you to memorize the most commonly occurring characters from most common to least common in that order, and only do like the first 300, 500. That will take you a long way. So that's the hardest part. Talking is relatively easy if you speak in phrases. Don't start from just characters and just do 2 characters. Tones are difficult. Do phrases, okay? So that's the hardest and that's the easiest. So if you ask me how do you get fluent in a year, I'll tell you how to get fluent in a year. Actually, 2 separate approaches. 1, if you're in China, get 3 different inputs. 1 is your everyday input. Quickly learn how to ask questions so that you can acquire the vocabulary you need and the simple phrases you need to thrive day in and day out. 2 is you want to get listening input. I recommend going outside and listening in the everyday situations you're in, but if you need something more controlled, then get audio, get Chinese Pod. They got great audio. Go on YouTube to like Mandarin Corner. They got good audio and listening input. Number 3 is find somebody, language exchange if you have that free time. If you don't, because you got a job, pay somebody to tutor you. And maybe number 4 is get a textbook. You want to make sure that you are practicing outdoors, that you are reading a textbook or some sort of book, and that you're listening either outside on purpose or with some sort of curated Mandarin material, and that you have somebody to teach you. Now, it doesn't matter how much you do these and in what proportion, but make sure you have those 4 things. Hope that helps. TJ, that was short, you guys. If you need more from me, come over to my channel at Elementary Chinese or on Instagram, Elementary Chinese. TJ, thank you for having me. Honestly, it's a pleasure. I hope you guys study hard and learn. That's why I always say, Kuizhou, Elementary Chinese. Good study, day up. Later.
Wow, man, those are awesome tips. Thank you again to Kuizhou for being an awesome guest on the channel. Make sure you guys check out Kuizhou's channel. He's such an awesome teacher. I will leave his YouTube link in the description down below, so make sure you guys go check him out and subscribe. If you guys like this type of content, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment down below. And let me know what you guys want to see next. This is it for the video. I will see you when I see you. Peace.